Our last speaker for the day, trying to kind of close out all the mind-blowing discussions that you've listened to today. Our last speaker is a neuroblastoma survivor. He's spoken at our conference a couple of times. I think the last one we thought was 2018 in San Francisco. We had him one or two times prior, I think. So our next speaker is Mr. Jay Ferrick, a neuroblastoma survivor.
Thank you, Pat. Hello, and I want to give a big round for Pat again because we know how much effort this takes to put on. So big round of applause for Pat. My parents in the picture right here, and my brother and my girlfriend, Amy, who got to attend with me this year. The last time I spoke, my parents got to attend in San Francisco, which is much closer to where I live. And they brought up the fact that just what a great resource this is from an educational standpoint and getting to meet other families going through the same thing, because you don't get to do that every day. And they wished that was something that was going on when I was diagnosed. I live in Petaluma, California, which is 45 minutes north of San Francisco. Grew up in Ukiah, California, which is 2 hours north of San Francisco. And my journey with neuroblastoma started in the year 2000. I'm 30 years old now. I was in kindergarten at that point. It was winter break, and we were at a New Year's party, and I got stung by a bee. And going back to school the next week, I started limping. And my parents thought that maybe I had stepped on a bee as well, like there's a big wasp nest in the ground. They thought I was trying to not go back to school and fake being sick. So my dad, when he dropped me off, asked the teacher to watch me when no one else was looking to see if I was still limping. And sure enough, she told him, yeah, he's still limping. So we went to my local doctor in Ukiah. They didn't find anything. I went to Oakland Children's Hospital, and they originally thought that I had a hip dysplasia and maybe a bone disease, and that's why I was limping. And a couple weeks later, I started having really, really bad stomach pains, went back to my general family doctor in Ukiah. They felt around on my stomach and he felt a tumor. They rushed me down in an ambulance to UCSF, and that's when my journey with neuroblastoma started. They found out that I had a tumor the size of a softball or grapefruit above my right adrenal gland, and that's where the journey started. Lots of 2-hour drives to San Francisco, early mornings. Sorry, one second. I don't think I was really going in the right order here. So at that point at UCSF, my parents sat down with the doctors and mapped out the journey for my treatment, which lasted 14 months. And it started with 6 rounds of chemo to reduce the tumor from the size of a grapefruit to a golf ball. I handled the chemo pretty well. Besides being very nauseous, I was very drugged up and 5 years old, so I don't really remember a lot of that. But I do remember that I did always look forward to going to the hospital. I had a 3-year-old brother at the time. He's 2 years younger. And both of us really looked forward to going to the hospital because we didn't have video games at home, and every room in the hospital had a Nintendo 64 in it, so we got to play all the video games we wanted. Neither of us really knew what was going on at that age. And so my parents said that it wasn't something that they were kind of in denial. Like, this isn't happening to us. It's just a little bump in the road. And we're going to get through it. Everything's going to be good. But ended up being a lot longer than a couple weeks and going on those 14 months. And also going like along with having a 3-year-old brother, he didn't know what was going on either. And he sees all the attention I'm getting gifts, getting to play video games, all those kind of things. And it has a big impact on your family. You don't really realize. Looking back at it, I do a little more now. But he would say things like, when I get cancer, I want to do this. And not realizing it's something bad at all, but it just takes into perspective of how the siblings are impacted as well. So back to the chemo, my parents stayed with me in the room, one on the recliner next to my bed, and one would stay in the family house next door, similar to like a Ronald McDonald house, where we could stay for free, and it was awesome. What an awesome organization to provide all that housing. My parents said friends started offering things to do, like we'll bring you dinner, we'll mow your lawn, and at first they were like, no, we don't need it. But then they realized that accepting those things made the people offering them feel better and feel like they're being a part of it and doing what they can to help you. So they started accepting those things and encouraged me to share that with you all. Some of my mom's friends put on a fundraiser similar to like a Relay for Life, but they called it the Jaywalk, pun intended. I get a jaywalk every day. So they raised some funds for us to help us along the way. And then after the initial rounds of chemo, they shrunk the tumor to the size of the golf ball. And I was on to surgery to remove the rest of it. The surgery was September 1st, 2000. And, oops, that was the wrong date. So I went to the hospital for 2 more weeks for the surgery. And then September 1st was the start of my stem cell transplant. The surgery to remove the tumor, I now have a scar from here to here, which I call my shark bite. I still have friends to this day who saw me in like swimming class in high school, and I told them that it was a shark bite, and they believed me. I actually had someone a couple years ago come up to me and be like, "So you really got bit by a shark?" And I was like, "No, that's what I just told you in high school." All right, So I started my stem cell transplant next. I was in the same room for 40 days at UCSF. And I don't remember much about that time, again, very drugged up, but I do remember when I got in the room, they told me I could pick any meal I wanted, and out of anything there, I picked chicken nuggets, and that's just one of my core neuroblastoma memories, is eating chicken nuggets on the hospital bed before stem cell transplant. You couldn't find me eating chicken nuggets today, though. During that time, I didn't eat for 3 weeks of the 40 days, had a feeding tube through my nose, lost a bunch of weight. I was down to about 35 pounds as a 5-year-old. And the feeding tube was definitely a struggle to get in sometimes. And I know I didn't behave and let them put it in very easy. Preceding the stem cell transplant, I had a high dose of chemo preceding it that I did not tolerate very well. And then another memory of the stem cell transplant was everyone in the hospital wing, when you ended stem cell transplant, they put toilet paper across the hallways, and I got to go through my wheelchair and break the toilet paper like it was a finish line, and all the nurses and doctors were standing there clapping, so that was another cool memory. When I visit for checkups, I would always go back to the floors that I was treated on, six long and 7, and go and say hi to the nurses and the doctors and see if they were there. And after 20 years, I think the last time I had went, probably 6 or 8 years ago, there was only one nurse left and one person who worked at the front desk, but they definitely remembered me and were so grateful that I came and said hello. And after the stem cell transplant, my parents turned into the nurses. I was back home for quite a bit of time. My parents had to give me medicine, shots into my hip, changed my Broviac, and giving medicine to me was really hard. I did not like taking medicine by liquid or pills at all. And it was quite a process to get me to take it. I could not swallow pills at all. My little brother could swallow them super easy, and he would grab like a little M&M and be like, "Look, Jay, it's really easy. I'll swallow an M&M." I was like, I can't do that. So I would crush up pills. Which one was it? One of them I crushed up and put in mint chip ice cream. I do not like mint chip ice cream anymore. I also don't like apple juice. I don't like grape soda or root beer, because all I took with my medicine, not realizing that I would not like them down the road. I forgot I'm supposed to change the slides too. It's the second one. All right. There we go. So this picture right here, I was talking to my mom about it last night. She was not at the hospital when my hair was falling out. She was not at the hospital when my dad let me shave it into a mohawk and dye it green. And all the nurses on the floor also dyed their hair with me. So some of my nurses had blue hair, some had pink hair, and they're just super supportive. And that's what I remember the most, is the nurses and the doctors making you feel like you're a king and doing whatever they can to make you feel good. After I went home, after the stem cell transplant, the next step was radiation. This was the easiest part that I handled best out of all the treatment. They did intraoperative radiation during the surgery when they removed my tumor, and then radiation after that was only for 1 week. It was just 3 days. There we go. And then after radiation was 13-cis-retinoic acid, which was Accutane. My dad took Accutane when he was in high school, and he said the dose I was taking was like 10 times the amount he was taking. And then another fun story about taking medicine. When I would return to the hospital for my scans, I think it was the MIBG scans, where I'd have to drink contrast, and didn't taste good. So I mixed that with apple juice. But we would say it was a 9 o'clock appointment for the scan. We would get to San Francisco at like 7 in the morning, because I had to take a scooter down the hill, back up the hill, take a drink of the apple juice, which was mixed with the contrast, and then go back up and down the hill. And that was the only way my parents could get me to do it. So we'd get there very early so I could drink apple juice with contrast. And then the last part of my treatment was a phase 1 study. I was part of the CH14.18 antibody therapy. They didn't know much about that at that time, so myself and some other kids were the guinea pigs on this to test how our bodies could handle it. At one point, it was way too much for me to handle, and they had to stop the treatment, give me a break, and cut the dosages in half. My parents said this was the scariest time for them. It was similar to chemo, but it was way harder on my body. It was scary for them because it was the end of the treatment, but they didn't know it was coming next. And at this point, that was the end of my treatment. That was the end of the 14 months. I was 6 years old at this point. I got taken out of kindergarten halfway through the year, missed most of first grade, was homeschooled on and off during that time. I did go back to school fully in second grade. This is a great photo op that for some reason, my grandma got me boxing gloves, and I came out in my boxers, and they got this great picture, and it was turned into this poster that my aunt made, Jay versus Cancer, knockout while I'm going through my treatment, wearing one sock. But all my friends and family had these posters, and when I go to my uncle's house, he still has it hanging in his garage, so it's pretty cool. So after the 14 months of treatment, then I went every 3 months, every 6 months, and every year to get checkups. And then I believe when I was 18, I went for my last checkup at UCSF, which was a survivor's clinic, letting me know about the long-term side effects and things like that. At 18, I still didn't, I feel like, fully understand it much better now. And I've actually learned more, I feel like, at this conference the last 2 times I have come than I did at the survivor's clinic at UCSF and in general, because they just give you the information, and it's like, I had the last one I went to, I think, no, it was the first one. I was in Chicago, and I was worried. I had this like mass in my hip, and the doctors at Kaiser couldn't figure out what it was. It was pretty big. It was probably about the size of a golf ball as well, and ended up taking like 6 months to figure out what it was. And it was an osteochondroma, which was a like calcification or a bone spur. But it took Kaiser so long to figure that out because my primary care doctor there doesn't know much about neuroblastoma. And then I walk right in, like the first day at the conference in Chicago, and they're talking about osteochondromas being a side effect of neuroblastoma. And I was like, wow, if I knew that ahead of time, it would have saved so much back and forth with doctors' offices and stuff. So it's just such a great resource for parents, kids going through it, and in my case, survivors to learn about our bodies and treatment side effects. Other side effects that I've had from vincristine, the chemotherapy, I have really, really high arches, my feet. My hands are kind of archy and curved as well, but not as much as my feet. Super bad poor circulation in my fingers and my toes when it's cold out. And by cold, I mean like 60 degrees, which is not that cold. My fingers get tingly and go numb. And then I have a lot of stomach issues, just sensitivity, lactose intolerant. Random food will just mess me up. So bad stomach issues. I've always had a hard time gaining weight. And I tell people I had a tummy tuck surgery at 5, so that I don't think I'll ever have to worry about gaining weight because I got the scar across my stomach. And some other challenges that came up going through my treatment. I couldn't ride a bike for the longest time because my platelets were so low. When I had my Broviac tube, I couldn't swim in our pool, and it's where I'm from. It's like over 100 degrees in the summer, so couldn't swim, but my parents let me be the pool monitor and let people know when they were allowed to go in and out of the pool. And my taste buds changed a little bit after my treatment. I've liked milk before, and then after my treatment, I didn't like milk anymore, so some random things like that. And then the things I remember the most, like I already mentioned, the doctors and the nurses just making you feel like nothing else is going on. It's your world. We're going to give you video games. We're giving you whatever food you want. We're dyeing your hair for you. We're putting up toilet paper for you to go through the finish line, just making it fun. I really remember my social worker doing a Where's Waldo book with me to take pills. Like I would find Waldo, take a pill. Find Waldo, drink a medicine. So it took an hour to get me to take the medicine, but just those little things. I remember my brother and I arguing, fighting over who gets to push the button in the elevator to go up to like the 13th floor. Like as a kid, just the little things that you want to do, push the button. I remember the family house where we got to stay for free. Every freezer was full of like 4 different types of ice cream. So you got to have ice cream every time we stayed there. And then I remember one of the bigger cool things was I got to go on a Make-A-Wish trip to Disneyland. And they picked us up in a limo from in Northern California, drove us to the airport, went to Disneyland, and went to California Adventure and Knott's Berry Farm, and that was really cool. And that's pretty much my story. Kind of scattered all over the place, but thanks for listening to me, and I hope this can provide some hope and inspiration, and I'm just a pleasure being here with you guys, and wish you all the best, and thank you, Pat, for letting me speak. Here's some more pictures. Oh, actually, I will. This is a really cool full circle moment. I forgot to go through these pictures. Sorry. So this on the left is Ronnie Lott, Niners, Raiders. Might have played for a couple other teams, but he was really involved with UCSF. They actually had a room he donated a lot of money to, and this was like the naming of the Ronnie Lott room at the hotel. And I showed up during some kind of treatment with my Pikachu slippers and got to take a cool picture with him. And this picture on the right, I was working an event, like a celebrity golf tournament at a golf tournament in Santa Rosa, California, and my boss was going to it, and I wasn't going to go to it, but she was showing us the list of celebrities who were going to be there. And it said Ronnie Lott, and I told her my story, because it's not usually I don't just tell my coworkers or my boss this story that I just shared with you guys. And I let her know, I was like, oh, hey, I have this picture of me with Ronnie Lott when I was going through my treatment. And she's like, oh, you're going to this. So we got there. He comes up on the tee box, and I was like, this isn't like a golf tournament where people like spectate. It was just only the golfers. But there was people working each hole for the celebrities to come get a drink or a snack on. So I showed him when he came up. I was like, hey, this is a picture of me and you. And he was just in awe and asked me. I told him my story briefly, and I just thought it was so cool to share it with him. And then a day or two later, my boss was like, hey, Ronnie Lott's like publicist or something reached out to me. She wants your address. And he ended up sending me an autographed picture of him. But that's not what I was looking for. So I sent him the picture of us back, because I didn't want anything in return. I just wanted to share the picture with him because I thought it was cool. And he was like, oh, here's an autograph. But he's an awesome guy and does a lot of fundraising for UCSF and cancer and things like that. So that was an awesome full circle moment. Well, there's more pictures. I'm just not good at. No, that's the last picture. That's me and Amy at a soccer game. And I thought it was really cool that Amy got to come with me and experience this. And she got to learn a lot about neuroblastoma today, probably more than she ever thought she would learn, because she got to hang out in this room with you all while I was in the survivor room learning other things. So again, thank you. Thank you, Pat.